Okay, this is 1.43. It's a lot like the last problem we did, except for this time the resultant vector, it doesn't end where it started, so there is actually a resultant vector. So we'll have to make it a little bit harder. Another thing that makes this a little bit harder, it says that vectors A through D are added together, giving a resultant vector of 243.18 units at 105.10 degrees. What is the magnitude and direction of vector D considering the following? And they gave us all three of the vectors. The problem is, if you'll notice, they didn't give the angle from north. If they didn't give the angle, if they gave the angle from north, we could just start writing out the components right away, just really easy. But since they didn't, we need to actually maybe kind of draw the vectors on real quick and kind of make sure that we convert these angles to the angles of bearings, convert them to headings or bearings from north. So if we look at vector A, it's we don't even really care how long it is right now. It's 60 degrees south of west. Okay, so if you remember, so north is over here, south, this is east, and this is west. So if we're going to go south of the west line and put in so we're going to put a vector in something like, I guess it's 60 degrees, so it'd be something like this. Okay, so that's 60 degrees there. Okay, so where is that vector? That vector is from here north all the way around to there. That would be how much? That would be 210 degrees, because 210 plus 60 is 270, which would take us to west. So what I want to do is I want to cross this off, and I want to actually, I'm going to cross this off, and I'm going to actually put 210 degrees as my angle there instead. Okay, let's see, what's the other one? Okay, 35 degrees south of east, so that would come in something like in there, something like there, where this is 35, okay? But we want the angle from north to here, so that'd be 90 plus 35, this angle here should be like 125 degrees. Okay, so we want to switch that, cross that one off and say at 125 degrees. All right, and then let's see, what's the last one? 23 degrees north of east. 23 degrees north of east, so that's going to be something in here. And this is, if this angle in here is 23 degrees north of east, what is this angle that we want to that vector right there? It'd be 67 degrees, 67 degrees. So we're going to cross that off and put a 67 degrees there. Okay. All right, so now we have all of our angles, and now we can just go ahead and start writing out our vectors. So vector A would be 113 times the sine of 210. Okay, 113 times the sine of 210 I hat, and I've actually calculated these out already. You can check them. So negative 56.5 I hat. And then the j hat would be 113 cosine of 210, and that's a minus 97.9 j hat. And if you just look over here at vector A, which was this one here, it has a negative I hat and a negative j hat, so that does make sense. So that's good. All right, let's do the rest of these. So vector B ends up being a plus 181.9 I hat. You can check your math here. Minus 127.3 j hat. That's 222 sine of 125 and 225 cosine of 125. Vector C is 177 sine of 67, which is a plus 162.9 I hat. And then 177 cosine of 67 would be a plus 69.2, I think, j hat. And then we have vector D, which we don't know. That's what we're trying to figure out. And then the resultant vector would be what? Well, the resultant vector was up here in the problem, 243.18 units at 105.10. So if you take 243.18 sine of 105, then you get a plus 234.8 I hat. And if you take 243 cosine of 105, you get a minus 63.35 j hat. All right, how do I get vector D? For the I hat, I'm going to take this. I'm going to subtract this, which means I'm going to add 56.5. I'm going to subtract this, 181.9. I'm going to subtract 162.9, and that is going to give me a negative 53.5 I hat. And then for the j hats, I'm going to take this negative 63.35. Make sure you start with a negative 63.35. I'm going to subtract this, which means I'm going to add 1970.9. I'm going to subtract this, which means I'm going to add a 127.3. And then I'm going to subtract a 69.2. And that gives me a plus 92.65. Okay, so that means I'm going to come up here and I'm going to draw in my grid. And I need to go over this way a negative or a 53.5. And I'm going to go up a 63.35. And my resultant will go like this, and I get an angle right here. So if I do Pythagorean's theorem on this, I'm going to get 107. I think these are just called units. 107 units at, and if I figure out this angle right in here, I think it came out to be like 60 degrees. 60 degrees. So for all the way around here is 270 plus 60 would be 330 degrees. So 107 units at 330 degrees should be vector D. You should definitely check my work on that and see if you got the same answer.